them corners and them lolos.
It's the call of the Cardinals. The call.
There's only one team, and they're the Seahawks. One.
Still taking my time to perfect the beat, and I still got love for the streets. It's the DRE for the gangsters all across the world. Still.
Hey, the NFC West show is back. It's back on Sportsmag UK, and I got my boy Football Talk with Bo. How are you doing, man? It's been a beat. It's been a beat.
It has. How have you been?
It's been good. It's been good this side. Obviously, the last time we spoke, it was pre-Super Bowl, and we're going to go back and touch on some of that sort of stuff. So, we're going to have to delve into some of that. But yeah, it's been good over here. New Sportsmag sort of channel firing up, doing stuff to remember what Dan was like and opening it up to the world of UK fans and stuff like that. So nice, all change on this side of the pond. What about yourself, buddy?
Yeah, just looking forward to season 3 of this, which is amazing. Just continuing to grow, which is cool, and obviously excited about football season being back because other sports are fun, but I'm always looking forward to football.
There's something about it, isn't there? It's like you get through the other sports in the summer and you kind of spring camps and all that sort of stuff, and it's like it's okay, but then when football season starts to get really close. Last week, a couple of weeks ago, I was in Dublin for the week 0 game for the NCAA, and that was like, okay, football's coming now. Football's really coming, and now it's like it's real. You can taste it now. You can almost taste it. It's amazing how much it ramps up and how busy everything suddenly feels on socials and everywhere else. It's a great feeling when and it's. I guess it's because I'm sure we've talked about this before. It's so short as a season.
Yes,
really, it's so condensed and everything is so compact in that time. And
and all the games
you live and die by it. Yeah.
Right. So it's not like baseball where there's 162 of them, and if you drop 20 games, it doesn't matter, right? Yeah. Like you're gonna win 60, you're gonna lose 60, and then the other 40 is what matter, right?
Yeah.
Whereas football, every single win is impactful. So how was the game in Dublin? Like it
was a great game. It was a great experience. Obviously, for me as an FSU fan, not ideal. But kind of, so we'll get that out there early. Right? So, but the whole experience, the whole work that College Football Ireland have done and Pro Football Ireland to get ESPN Game Day on site on Week 0 in Dublin was like major kudos. Pat McAfee's show on the Friday night was, oh boy, that was a mess. I don't know if you've managed to catch it. Oh, he was absolutely. He was drinking solidly. He's how he got up to go and do game day professionally the next morning. Fair play to the man, because he was well in his sock by the time that show wrapped up. Oof. But just overall, the whole event, the whole way that it's been put together, and it's grown over it's been there for now, I think 10 or 11 years. It's been up there. My only concern is that it's become so popular, so successful, that it's almost like, oh, look, the Steelers are going to come in and just steal it all and just take over. And because there's a lot of talk in Ireland about the Steelers and a matchup and a partnership with Pro Football Ireland. And it looks like if there's going to be an NFL game, it will be the Steelers who will move in. My only concern and my only worry is that, what it's like. College is college. NFL is the polished article. It's got a machine behind it. The PR and everything else. The rawness of the NCAA fits so well with Dublin's sort of ethos of party town. Let's have a crack, let's have a good laugh, and it just fits with the NCAA because NCAA is that raw sort of quality, that sort of difference between two teams can be so severe. Granted, what I love what they've also done is for the next 2 or 3 years that they've signed up, they've got conference games. So it used to be out of conference, complete, almost pre-season friendlies. Now they've actually got inter-conference games playing against teams. So there's a competitive edge to it. So the teams take it a little bit more seriously. So the fans take it a bit more seriously, and it just builds from there. But yeah, my only concern is, as I say, the NFL is going to come along and go, "You've done great work. We're just going to steamroller it and put NFL all over everything."
I mean, it's coming.
Yeah. But you've got London already, you've got Madrid, you've got Germany NFL. You don't need do that. You don't need to take that away from the guys in Ireland who have worked for 10, 12 years to put it together and put all those connections in place. But if the NFL turns its eyes to it, it's going to happen. And then,
Yep. Yeah, no, because it was successful, they don't need to, but they will.
Yes, exactly.
How's it going, Wen?
How's it going, Wen? Thanks for joining in. How are you doing, man? Family from and still in Ireland. Nice. I don't know. Yeah, one of the amazing things about that, the college game in Ireland was just how many people from Florida flew in. It was like it was a home game for Georgia Tech, but it didn't feel like it. It felt like a home game for. I mean, I get it was closer, Florida, easier flights, sort of stuff like that, and I think obviously the donors and stuff for Florida State are possibly of a higher level than Georgia Tech sort of donors, so they've got a bit more sort of, should we say, holiday money splashing around, so they can take trips to Ireland a bit more often, a bit more easily. So it definitely, but it was great to get that college game experience. The marching bands, they went all out. The bands were there, everything was there, so it really was a great experience. So I do hope it continues. I'm already booking for next year, so here we go.
Hell yeah!
Oh yeah. So where do we start with the NFC West?
I figure we have to start with Ayuk getting his deal done.
Finally getting it done, right? At the end, the longest saga of the preseason and the offseason and whatever you want to call it.
It was also like the least intriguing. You're just like, will you just get it? Like the rest of them, you thought there was a chance that people would get traded.
Yeah.
Right? You knew they weren't letting Ayuk go because this is the Niners' last real hurrah before they have to start paying everybody. Yeah. So it's like, we know you're not going anywhere. Just get to practice. So when they finally got it done, you're like, good, we can stop talking about this.
it did seem to take, it was, and it's the Niners, right? You can't seem to go through an off season without something. Yeah. Be it a QB controversy or a running back, so this, that, and the other, Brosa holds out, this and that. It's just like, and this was the next one, and it was like, okay, Ayuk, we should have, it's one of those ones. We probably should have got it done well early, straight after the Super Bowl. Nobody wanted to do it, but a couple of weeks after the Super Bowl loss, before everything disappeared, you could have just gone, right, Brandon, we want you, we love you, you love us, let's kind of nail this down.
Yeah.
And then it didn't. And the Niners never normally do stuff early, and this is kind of the way they do things. But then, of course, obviously the market then started to just blow up. JJ got his money, and other receivers started to get big money, and you were like, okay, this has now suddenly become an issue or a story, but it didn't really need to be. So from the outside looking in, it's like you could have avoided this noise for months by just getting it done early and giving him what he wanted. Because by the sounds of it, it's kind of what we did in the end. It wasn't like he didn't get JJ kind of money. He was a bit short. Yes, he got a big bag, but he's not 35 million plus or any the figures that have been bandied around. It's a reasonably sensible wide receiver one on this team that it's trying to win now kind of thing that he's got. So it doesn't sound like it was beyond the realms of possibility that was what was on the table 4 months ago.
Well, and it was super front loaded, right? Because they understand that next year they're going to have to pay Brock and stuff like that.
A lot of money, yeah.
So they did it in a way where, they have him for the next 2 years. It's very heavy, the cap hit is heavy on the front end.
Yeah.
And then they have a way out. So, it was a good contract the way they wrote it, but it was like, why did we need all of this preseason drama and be a distraction and all of this when you essentially gave him what he wanted anyway? You could have got that done before everybody else, and you could have
had a nice off season, everything done. Practice could have been, everyone in, and especially, weirdly enough, obviously with the most recent news, it's great that we got him signed when we did, because who knows after the recent Ricky Pearsall news, I'm not sure if you've managed to catch it yet. If it's broken on your side, he got shot basically. I did see that. So that's like, if we hadn't have done it 4 days ago, who knows what you might be like, hey, I am your only number one receiver now. Give me 35 million. So in a weird way, it's like, thank God we got it done when we did. But fingers crossed that that's not too much of an injury, not too serious. But getting shot, it's going to be serious no matter what, right? Well,
I don't think there's things scenario.
It's like you got shot in a nice way. It doesn't really ring true in any way, does it? And I'm hearing like conflicting things over here is whether or not it was like a through and through on the arm, but then I'm hearing it was a through and through on the sort of upper chest area and stuff. So it's like
it sounds like for getting shot, it was a best case scenario. So I mean, it does sound like they'll have him sooner than later, but still, I mean, crazy, man. And apparently he was there going to sign some cards and doing like a signing session and stuff. So madness, absolute madness. It was interesting. It was like already over in the UK, everyone's going, oh, did we put him on the pup list? It was like, we can't put him. Do we get a commissioner special exemption now? Because, it's like, does he use a roster spot how bad is the injury? And it's like, guys, the guy's just got shot. Can we not just think maybe hope he's okay before we all go off a little bit? That's like when people are like, I wonder if it's going to affect my fantasy team. It's like, I mean, come on,
man. dude, he's just blown his knee up. Can you just think maybe for a human being for a second?
Yeah. No, I mean, that was pretty crazy. And it was over his watch, right? Like, is because he was wearing a Rolex or something?
Yeah. Well,
I mean,
it's like, wow. I mean, and you don't mess with a guy from Florida, right? Ricky's from Florida. He's not going to give up a watch, without too much of a struggle, right? He's a gator. He's gonna fight for that sort of stuff. So and everyone's like, yeah, I'm well behind Ricky. He fought this guy off. It's like, he got shot, guys. He's not standing on business. He's not a big man. He's not a badass. He's like, he just didn't want somebody to steal his Rolex. Let's not make it into something it's not. And that's, a lot of this off season has been stories made up of things that aren't, the trading Ayuk stuff and how many trades were out there. Every team seemed to be in for him. The Steelers were kind of selling the house. The Browns were going to give everything. And then it just, maybe it's just the Niners. Maybe it's just the drama that comes with being, a successful team where they are right now, that so many eyes are on them. But it just seems like the content creators and all of the people around it were just in such a, I don't know. I think it was that they were in a funk because they just didn't know what was going on. Because I don't think a lot was coming out of the organization or that they could really latch onto. So they were kind of taking Instagram posts or the fact that Brandon Ayuk had a chat with his best friend from college, and they were just blowing it into so out of proportion that they.
Well, and Ayuk was dropping,
not helping. Yeah, he was not helping. Yeah.
Like his Instagram, they don't want me here, all of this. Like, I mean, come on, man. Like, obviously they want you there. They don't want you there for $40 million a year, though.
Yeah. I mean, and a lot of that, a lot of conversations over here were like, he is our wide receiver one. He is our best route running wide receiver.
Sure.
But he doesn't, in our setup and in the way it's set up in our organization and our offense, he's not wide receiver one and everybody else. There's Christian, there's Debo, there's George, there's Juan, there's all of those others, and then he gets a piece of the pie, and he got he's still got over 1,000 yards and whatever else, but so did Christian, so did George. It's not like he's like JJ or CD Lamb where he's like head and shoulders clear number one over everybody else.
No,
so he can't be expecting
some of those were some of those yards were taken because Debo was hurt.
Yeah.
Right. So the 3 games that he was out, obviously his numbers went way up because that's your main target. But I mean, when you watch how they play, their primary guys are Debo and CMC and Kittle, right? Like, and then Ayuk is that splash
release,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So it's funny when you think of, oh, they're going to be terrible without him. It's like, no, they're going to be terrible if the other 3 guys aren't there, right?
Yeah.
Because that's the main part of your guys' game is that,
and it's the complementary side of it as well, isn't it? Because everyone's saying, well, if you take Ayuk a week, those 1,000 yards. It's like, well, he doesn't get those without CMC, Debo, and Kittle being here and doing what they do, and vice versa. It's all that complementary thing. It allows CMC to get open because Ayuk runs a great route, and everyone's like, crap, we got to go cover him. Oh look. There's somebody else that's open. It's that whole complementary thing. So I'm super glad it's got done. My only concern is there's still one guy who's holding in or holding out that's kind of not really hit the headlines as much as the Ayuk story for some reason. But it's, as we've talked about on our show, we've talked about it on a number of occasions. He's probably more important to the offense than the skill positions that can be interchanged with Kyle going, yeah, you can get in here, Ricky Pearsall, you'll fit in for Ayuk or whatever else.
Sure.
But if we don't give Trent some money to get him playing,
yeah,
we're in a world of pain because, last season when Debo was hurt, we talked about, but Trent was hurt at the same time.
Yep.
We went on a run of 3 losses. We look bad.
Yeah, real bad.
Real bad, real bad, yeah. So why is that? My concern is, has that, you look from the outside, it's like, is that not a worry? Because the organization are like, let's get Ayuk's noise sorted. And then Trent, don't worry, we're going to throw whatever we scrim off the top and however we can. We're throwing it at you for guaranteed money. And yes, he's got a contract and he's got to get this, that, and the other. But he's obviously not got any guarantees left on his deal. So he wants to kind of get a bit of extra, the best left tackle in the game, 99 on Madden or whatever else. Give him whatever he wants, scrape, whatever. Just throw some money at the guy to get him into the building. I'm not so worried that he's not practicing or, he's not with the squad just yet because he's going to come in, be ready to go.
Oh, no
but it
question.
does make me think, like, week 1 could be a little bit of a rust. It's a bit of, get it done, guys, already.
I mean, so definitely be some rust. Like, I could see that. But when you think of how last year started, right? Because so many starters don't play in preseason anyway. Think of how bad offensive line play was the first 2 weeks of the regular season anyway. Like,
everybody was bad. Everybody was bad. Everyone was getting sacked left, right, and center.
Yeah, I mean, I remember watching Daniel Jones get sacked for like 10, 11 times in week 1. I mean,
he did get much better. They did get much better for him, but yeah.
No. I mean, it's why he got hurt, right? Like, he was before he got hurt. You were starting to think he might reset the sack total that David Carr had, which was like 74 or something in a season.
Yeah, he was definitely on target for it, wasn't he? Until he went down and stayed down. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, I can think of 3 games offhand that he had
double digits
sacks.
Yeah. So
I mean, but that's just how bad offensive line play was the first couple weeks of the season. You're just like, man, can some of these guys please play in preseason so that we can have a professional looking football team out there?
It's that bizarre counter, isn't it? Don't play your starters in preseason because they might get injured. And we've seen a few kind of get knocks and niggles and it's like, okay, you can make sense of it. But then, as you say, you get to week 1 and everyone's like looking left and right going, oh, yeah, you're on that side and you're on that side and how do I reach across? And, all of that, especially in, as you say, the O-line is such a integrated 5 guys have to work in such coordinated ways. If they've not done it for 7 months, because the last time they played was January, then of course they're going to be like, oh yeah, I forgot. Oh, sorry, I stepped on your foot. Oh no, I forgot what that call is this and that and the other. So inevitably, first week and a half, 2 weeks, as you say, they're not going to be that well-oiled machine that you need. So Trent not being in there, it's not. I'm not that worried.
The only thing I worry about guys not being in there, especially when they're not practicing, certainly if they didn't play during preseason, is coaches will do it because they're like, oh, we don't want guys getting hurt in preseason. But the thing is if you get hurt in week 1 or week 2 at preseason and you're out for 4 weeks, so you missed game 1, maybe, right?
Yeah.
But if you end up getting that same injury week 1, well, now you've missed the first third of the season, right?
Yeah,
so
and as we've just said about missing 4 games, it's huge for a 18 game season. And if you're a pivotal part of an offense, that could derail the whole season just because of a bad injury to your leg, arm, or whatever else. It's quite bizarre balancing act.
No, for sure. And then of course, you also think about the fact that because you weren't taking any live reps, that's where you see all those soft tissue injuries week 1, because they weren't doing any real speed reps. So now you have to go from 60%
contact soft
practice to 100%.
Yeah, and it's not even. It's 100% guys not on your team. So
you're breaking up, bud.
I'm going again. I got to stop.
Hopefully I'm back.
Not allowed to move. Not just freeze like that. As long as my mouth can move, that'd be good. Yeah, and as you say, even then, when you do 100% at training and you put your pads on, you're still going against your own teammates. So there's still just a little bit that you don't go full 100%, right? Yeah, 95 most of the time, right? because it's your own teammates and whatever else. But as soon as you go week one, you're up against these guys are fighting for their livelihood. These fighting for their lives. They've got one season. Some guys maybe 1-2 seasons in the league, 3 at most. And the average is like 1.5, 2 seasons for an NFL player. So they're going all out. So of course it's going to be like a massive step up in intensity.
Yeah, no, I mean, and it's funny because it's not even that you're pulling a little bit off going against your teammates, which you certainly are, but the NFL regulates the fact that you can't hit each other in practice anymore. Like your actual padded practices are so few and far between now, right? You'll have a helmet on, and then you might even be wearing your pads, but you're not allowed to really hit. And it's just like, okay, well, you're going to go from 2-hand touch in practice to you got to go do it for real. And I mean, week 1, week 2, it's always a ton of muscle strains and soft tissue stuff. And it's just like, well, yeah, because you guys aren't practicing this stuff anymore.
But to counter that, obviously the reason they don't practice full contact smashing each other is obviously from a health.
I mean long-term injuries, but it unfortunately you end up losing a lot of guys first part of the year. Whereas some of those injuries would have happened early on, and then they would have been back healthy by the time the season starts.
And got that sort of niggle, got that out of the way, as you say,
exactly.
Got the body ready for it. Whereas, as you say, you walk in week 1, it's like, this stuff, got how hard playing football is for real.
Yep.
Yeah, my bust a bicep goes, or a hamstring goes, or a calf, and it's all, as you say, it's always the soft sort of tissues that kind of go those sorts of first weeks. So it'll be interesting. And obviously that happened quite a lot last season. There was a lot of injuries for a lot of key players all over the place. So I mean, it was a bizarre season last season. Wrapping it back, how do you feel you guys did in the off season for the Seahawks?
I mean, this is a huge off season for the Hawks, right? I mean, you have an entirely new coaching staff, none of which have coached in the professional manner that they're in, right? So this is first year for everybody. You have an entirely new defense, which they needed, right? I think that was probably one of the things coming into this year that was kind of funny, because people were losing their minds about Quandre Diggs being off the roster and moving off of Bobby Wagner, and a lot of these big name guys were getting moved out, and they're fan favorites. So, I mean, they're upset about it. But then when you look at it, it's like, this has been a bottom 5 defense for the last 5 years. You had to make a change. And so you bring in a defensive coach. Our offense obviously can score, right? Because like last year they didn't, because the offensive line got banged up immediately. But the year before,
you say last year you had like 17 tackles or something rolled through or something at some point.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Yeah. But the year before, which is essentially the same group that we have, it was a top 5 scoring offense. So, they didn't really do much with that side, but the defensive side, they've brought a lot of different pieces in. So if you look at it that way, it's like, okay, you have now obviously predicated on the offensive line staying healthy, but you have an offense that can score. Now you have a defense. Let's say it improves to being a middle of the road defense. They're just average.
Which is still be, as you say, massive step forward from bottom 5. Yeah.
So then all of a sudden, you can win a lot of games. If you have, and say the offense isn't as efficient as they were the year before. Say they're a top 10 scoring offense, but you have a 16th ranked defense. That's a wild card spot.
Yeah. Especially, because of the way the scheduling works out, you're playing teams who finished 3rd in their other divisions as well. So, it's going to have a slight easier than some of the other sort of higher up schedules.
So our schedule is actually harder than it was last year, because we played the South last year.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Anything's more tricky than playing the South, right?
Exactly. So the schedule is harder. So I think realistically, although our team will be better overall, we'll end up with the same record. I think it's a 9-win team. And, I think the ceiling for it, say things really come together, could be an 11-win team. I don't think that's the case, but I don't think the media's portrayal of them being a 6-win team is realistic either. So I'm going to go with, this is probably a 9-win team, which will be a bubble team for the playoffs.
Yeah. It'll be bubbling on that wildcard area, won't it? It'll definitely be in and around. And as a fan group, as you say, from a first year transition, new coaching, new everything, if you get 9 wins in your first season, thank you very much. We'll take that.
Yep.
You can see obviously the growth. You can see the foundations will be in place then.
Yep.
And as you alluded to at the beginning, the powerhouse in the division is got transitions coming down the road. So being set already at 9 wins and on the bubble of the playoff, it can only stand you in good stead for the following years, the future years. My only concern, obviously, from an offensive side of things, you've got Gino. You're back up to Gino. You didn't look. There hasn't been a move to the future as of yet, because Gino's he's been around the NFL a while, right? So there's got to be at some point a look to the future, and I don't think you've got a backup in position right now who's going to be your guy. Right? You didn't go and get anybody. So. We
definitely don't. Gino will probably live to do another contract. He's played well enough to earn that, because I mean the year before last he set the single season passing record for the Seahawks. So I mean it's not like he was coming out doing bad work, right? So then they bring Sam Howell in, and I was actually at a few of the Seahawk practices, and it was not impressive at practice, right? Like balls were not on target. And what's the biggest thing with practice? You're not allowed to hit a quarterback, right? You should be able to complete these balls.
Yeah. You're not getting hit. You don't have to worry about the defensive end coming around and smacking you to the floor. All you're focusing on is hitting your receivers, get your timing, get that rhythm and stuff. And if you're not able to do that whilst knowing you are safe,
it
doesn't breed exactly a massive manner.
But then when you watched him during preseason, you saw that Sam Howell was a gamer, because he played way better in those games. Now, granted, it's against guys that are probably not in the league anymore. But, I mean, at the same time, they're allowed to go.
At the same time, those are a lot of guys who are fighting really hard to make those rosters. So they're giving it all. They might not have the level of skill and whatever else. But, it's not like they're not trying, because a lot of those preseasons are auditions for 53-man roster spots, aren't they?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, of course, they'll come hit you. Right?
Yeah.
They got to put tape up. So I mean, but when you watched him during preseason, he played really well. I think he had a right at 100 QBR.
Wow.
So I mean, you got to be happy with that, which is wildly different than what we saw in practice. So I was just like, okay, so he plays well on game day. With that in mind, though, it'll be really hard for him to actually be a starter in this league if your practice film is terrible. If your
practice is such a drop off from game day, because practice is where your coaches see you all the time, and if you don't practice to the same intensity, or something in the mindset is, hey, it's just practice, I'm not getting hit, I'll try all these crazy throws and do all this crazy stuff, coach is going to be like, yeah, okay, but what I want you to see is that 3-step drop and hit the guy in the flat without having to think about it. And you're not doing that. You're kind of missing that throw wild and high. And you're never going to take the step to be the guy that the coaches go, you're it, you're my guy, and we're going to put the franchise on you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, because even if a team sees your game footage and they bring you in, they're like, oh, okay, let's trade for him. Let's bring him into camp. In fact, this is exactly what it was with the Seahawks, right? They bring him into Washington, from Washington, I mean, and people immediately were like, oh, Sam Howell going to take Gino's job, right? Now, this is before practice started or anything like that. And even then I was laughing. I was like, Geno Smith has been nothing but efficient, right?
Yeah.
And I mean, even last year, he didn't get sacked a lot, despite the fact that they had tight ends coming in to be linemen.
Yeah. He kept some plays alive when he certainly shouldn't have done, didn't he? Yeah.
Absolutely. So then people are like, oh yeah, Sam Howell's going to come in, take his job and all of this. And then seeing him during practice, you're like, oh man, the drop off between Geno and Sam is so big. Now on game day, again, Sam looked pretty good, but during practice, you're just like, this is apples to
Gino can't get hurt. God's sake, to wrap Gino up in cotton wool, right? That kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. Because when Drew Lock came in, you were actually pretty happy with the production. You're just like, okay, hey, Drew Lock had been there for a couple of years, knew the system well, and when Gino did get hurt, he was able to come in and effectively move the ball around. I don't know if I feel that would be the case with Sam.
You'd be a bit more seat of your pants kind of, and it always felt that way at Washington. It was broken plays. It was, as you say, he can ball out, but it's not going to be comfortable. It's going to be broken plays. It's going to be, audibles and wild sort of things that won't be what coaches want. As you say, coaches want stability, consistency. They want to know that when they put that play in, this is what's going to run, this is what's going to happen type thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this year is such a wait and see for the Seahawks because, again, the ceiling and the floor are so wide because you just don't know what to expect from a first-year head coach, a first-year offensive coordinator, because Grubb was with the University of Washington and they were awesome, but this is his first NFL job. When it comes to McDonald's, it's his first NFL coaching job. Even to special teams, right? We have a Harbaugh that this is his first NFL level coaching job. So, everybody is in their first level or first NFL position. And so there's a lot of questions on how some of that stuff's going to translate. There's a lot of questions on this completely remodeled defense is going to look, could be great, could be terrible. Who knows?
Could be somewhere in the middle. Yeah.
Yeah. So, there's so many questions that you're optimistic about it, but at the same time, you're just like, we haven't seen anything out of any of these people. It could be terrible.
It's a typical fan, isn't it? It's like, we're going to win 10, 9, 10 games. We're going to be playoffs. And you're like, you haven't even seen a snap in anger yet. It's like, no, it doesn't matter. Optimism is there, but at least, you're tinging it slightly with that, all these guys are walking in, got great ideas at college. And as you say, really successful at college game. But the NFL is different, right? The NFL is that step up, and it's a lot more intense, and it's a lot more, all the guys on the other side aren't worse players. And, sometimes in college games, you get that, like this week, if anybody's watched any college games this week, you've seen games, one game was reduced to 5-minute quarters because it was 70-0 by halftime. It was such one-sided. So sometimes you get that in college. So the coaches don't get tested every single play in every single quarter in every single game. So that'll, it's a learning curve for your coaching staff and a learning curve to gel that new defense together. It's an interesting time in Seattle.
Well,
I think
and to your point, in the college level, right, when you're going against another team, even a good one, there's 4 or 5 NFL caliber guys on that team. Once you get to the NFL, that 53rd man was an All-American at one of these colleges.
Yeah.
Right. It was just it's wildly different.
It's bizarre when you realize it's like, you guys have got 3 or 4 guys, and then you go, that guy, everybody on your team was the top guy in their college.
Exactly.
At that position, they
cut guys that were the top guys in their college.
Yeah. That's one of the crazy things about the NFL and the crazy things about football in the States. And it's such a hard stop for most of those athletes. And I'm sure we've talked about it before. They go through high school, they go through college, and again, it's like, get to the NFL. And if you don't, it's like, bam. So what's left? The XFL and those sorts of leagues are knocked around, or the Canadian League or the Arena Leagues. But it seems such a hard stop for a lifetime of dedication.
So it's funny because even going into arena ball, right?
Yeah.
When you take your last snap, it's exactly that. It's the last one you're ever gonna take. It is the weirdest ending to, because if you play basketball or baseball, or there's plenty of pickup style games that you can go do.
Yeah. But
you're never gonna put pads back on. Soon as you take that last one, everything you've ever done up to that point is over. And it's it is the weirdest ending, because I mean, you know, when I stopped playing, it was just like, I guess that was it. That was the last one.
That's it then, right? It's like, oh.
Like you can go throw the ball around with some friends or whatever, but you're never gonna like lace them up, put pads on, go hit people. Like it's never gonna be.
It's just, it doesn't do it. It's not. There's no. You know, in the UK, soccer is like everywhere. So you don't make it to professional. It doesn't matter. On Sunday, you can still go down. You'll still have a Sunday league team. Even, you know, guys at the pub will go out there and you'll still play. But for football, you know, it's it. You know, once that last snap's done, once you take that off and you hang them up, and you know, you hang up the cleats, as they say, that's it.
Yep.
You probably won't ever do that for the rest of your life ever again. It's such a weird scenario. Isn't it? Yeah.
It's very weird.
To think, as you say, it's like you've gone from 10 years old. This is all you've been focused on. This is your whole life. You, high school, college, everything has been about getting there. And if you're not, you know, a bad injury or a knock, or you just don't gel with a coach or whatever else, bam, it's like, whew. That's why I suppose that's what makes that 53 cut down day such an emotional day in the season for all of those guys, but also for coaches and everyone else, because they also, from that sort of position, they know that they are literally, if that guy doesn't make that roster and he's getting cut, it's changing that sort of, you know, changing the future for so many people.
Oh, for sure. Well, and like in my case, I was able to like pick my time to end my football career, right? Like but a lot of these guys get cut, right? So they don't even know that they already took their last snap.
Oh, yeah.
They get the phone call and they're like, hey, we're releasing you. And so you don't even have, like, when I stepped off the field the last time, I kind of knew what my plan was. So I got to enjoy the idea of what, you know, as I walking off the field, I'm like, okay, this is probably it, but you know, what a ride.
Take this in and stuff. Yeah, what a ride. I've got this, that, you know, all the stuff that you've got through. Whereas you say some of these guys go, like, hang it up for the season and think, all right, I'll see you guys in September. No, you don't. And
exactly.
That's it. Wow.
Yeah. And then it's just like, okay, well, now what am I doing? Like,
what did I study? Did I actually study in college, or am I now kind of stuff? You know, and it's this the old adage of, you know, you end up selling cars down at your local, you know, where you grew up. And
it's exactly right.
Yeah, that's how it works. When a slight random tangent, apologies as you do.
No, like it's I mean, coming off of the 53-man roster cuts makes total sense. I mean, it's too bad, especially when you're watching, say your team is just really deep at a position. You end up cutting a guy that should be on a roster that now just isn't. We had a couple of those with the Seahawks. That there were a couple of guys, they looked really good, but we didn't need another receiver. We have 6 that are fast and great. So you had some guys on the outside looking in that are good enough to be on a roster. We just had so many people at that position, we didn't need them. We have the same thing happening at running back. Now, we got lucky somehow and we're able to bring him back onto the practice squad, but he put out tape good enough to be somewhere else. So I was really surprised he didn't get picked up on waivers. But then we lost a linebacker. He ended up getting cut again. We were pretty deep at linebackers, so you know we just didn't have him. But Jamie Sheriff, I believe he got picked up by the Panthers. But I mean, he had a great preseason. He had like 3 sacks, 2 sacks, 3 tackles for loss, and I mean, just all over the place.
So put it on tape, put it there, but did it,
absolutely. And he didn't clear waivers. Obviously, Panthers are like, "Yep, come on over."
Thank you. Yeah.
But I mean, you know, because we had enough players at linebacker, even though that stat line was impressive,
it wasn't enough to push. Right? Yeah, it wasn't enough to push those. You know, those veterans out, or those guys who've been in the system and know the system, or, you know, maybe not know the system, obviously, because it's a whole new system, but have had the NFL experience to kind of be able to get ready for a new system rather than, your new guy just come through. So we're starting a whole new system as well. I think we'll lean towards the experienced guys who've been around enough. Yeah.
Exactly.
There you go. As Alex saying, you must be seeing that defense come together, considering, we had conversations last season about all you need to do against the Seahawks is just literally run down the middle, and you guys are just going to be like, oh, how many yards would you like, type thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sadly, we don't know what they're going to be.
You just hope they're better than before, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm intrigued to see what they can be. Obviously, McDonald's coming from the Ravens, their defense was awesome, right? Yeah. So, I'm looking forward to that. But at the same time, is just the guys that he has. Sorry about that. Little
okay. I wasn't sure. I froze myself because I wasn't sure if it was me or you, and I was like,
"Oh, perfect!" And we probably both did.
Yeah, it's like so. There's a 5 seconds of both of us like.
But yeah, I mean, so it'll be interesting to see how it comes together, just because it's a lot of new players, and it's not like you have some of the same guys that McDonald had when he was with the Ravens. They tried to get a couple of them, but they didn't end up making it here. That being said, I don't think they have to do a ton to be better than what they were last year.
Yeah.
So that, I guess that's the long way of saying, yes, I'm excited to see where this could potentially go.
Yeah. And I think on that, because, I think we've always said, the back end of your defense looks great. You've got some really good.
Oh, I think he froze this time. Yeah, the back end is definitely good. You got Witherspoon and Woolen, you got Love. So I mean, yeah, there's a lot on the back end to be excited about, but everything up front is relatively new. They did, obviously get the deal done with Leonard Williams. So that was huge. That one was funny because people were like, I'm surprised they gave him the money. I was like, they gave up a second rounder for him. I don't know why you're surprised.
Well, yeah, why would you not not just give up a second round pick and just not give him some money? It's like, it's not how it works.
Yeah, you have to have a plan of re-signing a guy if you're giving up really a top three round pick. You're planning on giving that guy money to hang around.
Yeah, it's not a one season wonder, right? Yeah.
Well, especially on a team that wasn't like a player away.
Yeah.
Right. Now, if you were, hey, I really need a D end or a linebacker or something like that for this year, like we're ready to rock, that's the whole. Sure, you might do something like that to try and win a ring. Our defense was terrible.
Yeah. Your front four, your front seven needed more than just a piece, didn't it? It was needed footage. You needed to kind of upskill across the whole lot. So yeah, obviously you give up the second round, you get that guy, and you want to build around him. So you're going to give him some money. You're going to give him next thing. You're going to make sure he's there to build around. So yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Sometimes fans are a bit odd, though, aren't they? Let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, the fans are fanatics, right? So I mean, they very rarely have rational thoughts when it comes to their team.
Yeah, and it's a thing. It's just when we talked about the off season and stuff, and that's without games and how crazy the outlooks are and stuff like that. So you kind of remember that going into the season, all of those crazy hot takes where everyone's like, just calm down a little. It goes out the window now because now it's just like actual football is happening as well. So it's just the roller coaster of emotions is just about to come to leave that kind of safety platform. So look out. Yeah.
Well, yeah, because now you're either right or you are wildly wrong. Right?
And there's no gray area now, is it? You're either it's boom or bust time. Absolutely.
Well, especially when you think of fans that are like, "Oh yeah, we're undefeated. Let's go." And it's like that is never going to be a thing.
Not in the NFL this day and age. I'd be very, very surprised if their team went undefeated ever again.
Yeah, I mean, it's just never going to happen. I mean, the Patriots were the last one that had a shot at it. Obviously they fail in the Super Bowl, but I mean, I don't think anybody's going to get anywhere close to that ever again.
No, not with free agency and the cap space and all the kind of stuff that's come in. It's just like you're just never going to get that opportunity. Because teams that go undefeated and did in the past, they were like year 3, year 4, year 5 teams that have been together and learned how to play and everything else. Now, as you say, 2-3 years in, and then people are cherry picking your best players, or the players want to get paid, contracts and all that. It's never going to happen unless you're lucky enough to. Unless you're lucky enough to play the NFC South every game.
Yeah, right.
Right.
I mean, you have a hard enough time just keeping the coaches on the roster.
Yeah.
I mean, 3 years later, if you have an offensive or defensive coordinator that's killing it, they're a head coach somewhere.
They're a head coach next year. Yeah, absolutely. So, as you say, that continuity just isn't there anymore. It's just the turnover and the marketing and the money that is sloshing around the game, I suppose, just means that the owners and everyone is just, they need that instant fix, or something's not quite right. Get me this guy, get me that guy type thing. It's amazing to think. Thinking about the Niners, obviously, we talked about Ayuk's kind of off-season, the mad sort of, that's been all the news. And the weird thing is that has been all the news. Everything else has just been like, CMC did the restructure, kind of got his bag and whatever else. They moved some money around for him to get him some money. But that was kind of, it wasn't really it's kind of nominally an extension, but it's just moving some money around. So there's been no, major changes. And also, there's been no personnel going up and down and stuff like that. It seems like a very structured, very stable sort of core. Yes, there's been some, around the outside bits, but the core is still there. Now, my concern is either the emotional baggage from the Super Bowl, second time against KC, getting so close. There's a core of players there that have now lost 2 Super Bowls.
Sure.
That emotionally takes it out of those players. And yes, and it can drive them and say, I'm going to get back. And, when they felt wronged and whatever else, and we've all seen it, and the holding calls and all of the stuff that's out there. So yes and no, whatever. But from a player perspective, there's that core group that was so close twice. Emotionally, that's got to be impacting, and that's got to be from my point of view, that's a worry that we haven't maybe freshened up in some key areas. That if things don't quite start off right, it could be a bit of, we had our shot, we got so close.
So I don't think you guys are going to run into that so much, only because that group is all together, right?
Yeah.
And you've been to 2 Super Bowls that didn't work out. You've been to 3 other NFC Championship games. So I mean, you have players that know how to get a sustained playoff run. So I think you probably actually have, if you do start having a hard time, I don't think it'll be a belief issue. I think it'll be because people are pressing, knowing that after this year, the wheels start to fall off.
Yeah.
Just
this is the pressure of this is the year, the window, and all of the stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, because I don't think it's going to be we're just going to fall short, because I mean we haven't seen them do that, right? Like every time you get into the playoffs, you guys go win games, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's going to be that. I think it might be if they start pressing, because they're like, man, next year it's it.
Next year we got Brock, we got and who's going to still be on the roster? As you get to week 8 and 9, and things are, and there's been a couple of wins, things are getting tight.
And then within
do they overpress? Do they over try to get?
Exactly. And then within the division, you got the Seahawks coming back in. You have the Rams getting significantly better.
Significantly step up the Rams. It's a shame that Sam's not with us. I'm sure he's going to be buzzing for this season.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And then even the Cardinals, they had 30 picks in the draft, right?
Because they just went crazy, didn't they?
Yeah, the 6th and 7th round, I feel like they had 8 picks. I mean, so they're probably a undervalued team, because for some reason people keep saying that they're going to be a 5-win team. I think they're going to be better than that.
Yeah,
the media. The media has them with the same kind of win totals as the Panthers and the Giants, and that makes absolutely no sense to me.
Makes no sense to me, because those 2 teams
are terrible.
Those are bad teams. Such a bad team. And Alex Ned is saying, he thinks the Niners, if we're going for that 1 seed, we need to kind of be unbeaten early on, because back end we start to hit some really tough teams.
No question.
On the Cardinals stuff, it's bizarre to me, because we spoke with JT on the show last season. growing shoots were there of, team that they fought for stuff. They got some wins. They got some bits and pieces there. So there's no way that they're going to be as bad as the Giants or the Panthers, who are going to be two of the three terrible teams this year. I think anyone who's watched football and has looked at stuff, there's three teams that are going to be really bad. Those are two of them. The other one's in the other side of the conference. But how anyone can be saying that the Cardinals are going to be down in that sort of area. I think they drafted really well. I think they've got some really great pieces. And as you say, they've got bodies now, whereas before, I think they trimmed off a lot of dead weight that was floating around in that organization. So they've got young, hungry guys in. I think they are a team that's going to be, better than media certainly expect. But going back to the Rams really got better. Got a lot better across the board. So I think they're going to be the ones that challenge the Niners this season for NFC West supremacy. I think they're going to be right in there, to be honest.
Yeah, I think the Rams and the Hawks are going to end up both being 9-win teams. I think they're going to. It'll be decided by a tiebreaker. Which, as a Hawks fan, that worries me a little bit because for whatever reason, the Rams give us a lot of trouble.
Yeah, it's the conference thing that we've always talked about. We cannibalize each other, don't we? Usually, there's always one. It's always inevitably 1-1 against the opposition in the NFC West. So that's why
we always struggle to get a number one seed in the playoffs, right? Yeah. And I think the NFC North is going to have that same issue this year.
Yes, because that's the. Okay. They're all going to take points. That's a good division this time, with four good teams. Maybe the Sam Darnold-led Vikings have probably just dropped off a little now that Darnold's leading them.
Yeah.
But, they've still got JJ, still got Addison, still got a decent running backs position. They've still got Hockenson to come back. They've still got a decent defense. So it's still all the pieces there. That is a great division to be watching. If you're in a team in that NFC North, it's not great because it's very much like the NFC West used to be, like 5 years ago, where all four teams are like battling, clawing to try to take points off of each other. It's not been quite like that the last few years, but I think, again, in the NFL, the way it always works, that sort of roller coaster is starting to come back again, start to level out now that the Niners are coming closer back towards you guys, and you guys have got better to kind of up your game to kind of knit to match. So I think this season will be a lot tighter. I think it'll be a lot closer in the division between the three teams, and I don't think, as you say, the Cardinals will be, that far off the bottom as everyone is expecting.
I mean, they're making it sound like they're going to have the same win total they did last year, or potentially be worse. And it's like they had a good draft; they've gotten better. How are they going to be worse than they were last year? And because of the way the North is and the way that the West is, it's why I think that a 9-win team gets in the playoffs this year. Yeah. Because both those divisions are going to beat each other up. Yeah, and the other two divisions, let's be honest, aren't awesome.
There's one team in the East, and then on the UK show that we had with Alec and Matty, we all went for one team in the East. Nobody's got any. You don't even have a second team making the playoffs from the East. That's how clearly we think it is. It's just like, and then it's like, do three teams from the West make the playoffs, or is it three teams from the North? It's that kind of flip a coin. That's where the teams are. But the South obviously is shocking.
Well, and I agree with Alec here. I think all the teams in our division are at least 7-win teams.
Yeah.
I mean,
which is unheard of, it's one of those, and that's what makes football great. Why I love the NFC West, and I've always, even during the 20, 30 years been watching, it's always been a competitive division. It doesn't matter even if the teams within it have not been great, they've always been competitive with each other.
Yep.
That kind of thing. There's never been.
That was why some of those years with the Cardinals where they were just horrendously bad, and then you'd still lose to them because it's a divisional game. Yeah. And you're just like, how did we lose that game?
Everybody's beating these guys up, but you go into Arizona and they suddenly turn up for that one game. You're like, why? But yeah, as you say, divisional games that go out the window. Things like that, always happen in our division. Man, this has been great catching up, though.
Absolutely.
It's a shame we haven't had the other guys. Appreciate Alec jumping in on the comments there. That's been really helpful. Hopefully, we'll have the other guys back as we start to delve into the season, because obviously season is just round the corner now. Oh, my God.
Just a few days
How are you feeling about week one?
I think they're going to go beat up on a Denver team that doesn't know who they are yet.
Mm. Yeah, it's a nice opener for you guys. A team, Peyton, yes, Sean Payton there and whatever else, but
That's a rookie
revamped
quarterback on a team that
QB that doesn't have an identity, trying to salvage something. I think that's a nice start.
simple defense that's going to be hungry, so could be a battle out there. Could
be time to you could flex in if you're looking for a flex defense for your fantasy football team and Hawks against for week one.
On a side note, absolutely not. Keep that negativity to yourself.
Good man. But there we go. Look at that. I mean, it's high praise indeed from Alex there for you there, Bo.
That's
man,
awesome.
you gotta love that. Just a little side thing. While we're talking about week one, just in the UK, there is a new fantasy game day app. It's like DFS for you guys. So it's pick your 6-7 teams, pick your 6-7 players. It's UK only, so because you guys in the States have got so many of these, DraftKings and all that sort of stuff. So the UK fastest growing one is called Game Day app. Used code MAGUK to sign up. You get yourself a freebie, and we get a kickback. It's a great way of playing along, making sure that you stay involved with all those games. So please do have a look at the Fantasy Game Day app. And as I say, try it out. Use code MAGUK and have some fun with it. Bo, love you, brother. Really appreciate you jumping on. I can't wait to delve into the whole season with you guys as we delve into this. And, it's great to have you back for season 3. Looking forward to this all the way through the season.
Absolutely. Great to see you, man.
You take it easy, Bernie. I'll see you next week.
Still hitting them corners and them lolos.
It's the call of the Cardinals.
There's only one team, and they're the Seahawks.
Still taking my time to perfect.